I am thrilled to talk to you about a project I've been working on for some years now, the Lesson Hive. It's an inventory of K-12 arthropod lessons. When I talk to K-12 teachers about what they're looking for, they consistently say the same thing. They want curriculum that's aligned to the standards that they're required to teach. That feedback reflects some of the radical changes that have happened over the last couple of decades. Teachers are required to meet specific standards in what they teach, and they're required to teach it in really specific ways. That's not a bad thing. The next generation science standards turn science into something that children do for themselves, rather than a class where they just learn what other people did. The majority of states have now adopted next generation science standards or some version of it based on the Common Core. A fully next generation aligned lesson has all three parts of the science standards present. The disciplinary core ideas are there in the middle, the stuff we want students to know. Science and engineering practices are basically having students do it themselves, practice science by experimenting and interpreting data through inquiry. Cross-cutting concepts provides the context for all this information and activity that we're having them do. This is a good thing. The science standards are designed to fix the issue of students knowing what they needed to learn for the test, but then not being able to apply that information in a new situation. Context and inquiry are the key additions to the core ideas, the stuff kids need to know. So the emphasis is shifting to exploring before you get to the explaining. We started out with an initial question. Are entomologists keeping up with some of these changes? Of all of the amazing insect lessons out there, how many of those are actually aligned? And in 2016, we started actually inventorying lessons. We came up with a lot. And unfortunately, of those that were from entomology departments, most of them were not aligned, less than half. We weren't assessing to see whether the standards that were included were accurate. We just wanted to know, is there a standard mentioned anywhere? And they usually weren't. It's understandable that many entomology lessons are not aligned. These new standards come with their own jargon, and the system is really complex. So as a quick review, do you recognize these terms? Because driving questions, storylines, anchoring phenomena, sense making, this is all new language that turns up in the new science standards. And if they don't show up in the materials that we're creating, then they're less likely to be adopted by K-12 teachers. So if we want our materials in classrooms, we need to address that mismatch. Making sure that entomology lessons we create are aligned is important. In the 2019 National Survey of Science and Mathematics Education, only 31% of elementary teachers said they felt prepared to teach science using the new standards. And we also know from that same survey, actually, that less than 1% of primary grade teachers have a degree in science education or science. So we want to make our lessons as easy as possible for lower grade teachers to just grab and go. Insects are perfect for hands-on discovery and inquiry lessons. Promoting the mindset in kids of, I don't know, let's find out, early in life is something we absolutely want to support. In upper grades, many school systems have a defined scope and sequence, learner terms, for middle school and high school. If we want to create something, it needs to fit into this very complex structure that teachers are usually pretty locked into. So there's tons of spots in physical earth life sciences that could totally include bugs and insect curriculum, but we need to explicitly make that connection for teachers when we're providing new curriculum. After we did the survey, our database of entomology lessons has been through a lot of different iterations. This is its current form, the Lesson Hive, an actual website that you can search. What's in it? Currently, we have 153 lessons. We have discarded lessons that we found that were not aligned or not high quality, and some things just disappear on the internet, and so that happens too. We have reviewed 83, so a little over half of those lessons have a review, and we have many, many lessons still to add. We also have decided to recommend 25 resources, so that's about 16% of the total. To do that, we use a rubric. Our rubric is based on the EQUIP rubric to assess lesson alignment. The EQUIP rubric is fantastic. And using it will really help improve lessons that you're working on. This QR code will take you, this QR code will take you to the overview of the rubric. Equip has 19 different criteria, and the short version is 14 pages long. So that was a bit much for us to use as an initial screening tool. We created our own shortened version of the rubric to do an initial assessment of lessons. So in order for a lesson to be recommended, it needs to meet the three-dimensional criteria of NGSS and also meet at least 5 of 8 other criteria. The Lesson Hive rubric is a living document, and we will be revising it as more information is gathered. Okay, so we got this database, and you can search it, and it's live. What are we going to do next? We would really like to have a template or a checklist to help entomologists take their very good non-aligned lessons and add in some of the pieces that will help them become NGSS aligned. We also would love to compile some of our outstanding resources into a curriculum. That, again, curriculum is something that teachers are asking for. Lastly, we'd really like to help entomologists find places to connect with teachers to demo their lessons. On our to-do list is compilation of state teacher associations, meetings, so something that will help us connect to teachers. And we really need your help. We need reviewers for lessons. It takes a while for us to work through all these. We want you to submit your lessons for inclusion. If you have something amazing, there's a lot of stuff on the internet, and it's very likely that we have missed something. So please do submit that. And funding. With funding, we can make this project go a lot faster. We were lucky enough to have support from the Education Outreach Committee this year to hire 2 undergraduate students to help with data entry. We could also do things like pay the registration fee for entomologists that want to go to science teacher meetings to be covered. And while I have your attention, before you go, I want to remind you that we have a new section specifically for formal and informal teaching in the ESA. If you haven't already joined, make sure to go and add that to your membership. And lastly, I want to thank everyone who has supported this project, which has been going on for a while. Christy Reddick, our current Education Outreach Chair, Peter Piermarini, who helped me find some undergraduates, the fabulous Elliot Ross, who has doubled the pace at which we can inventory lessons, John Guyton, who came up with this idea initially, and then Cliff Sadoff, who provided support for early versions of the database.